Yes, it is. It is. Donno Daily here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. I actually have a reason to smile about the Miami Dolphins coming out of this weekend. Last week was rough, man. I actually have a reason to smile about the Miami Dolphins. And bros, Manny just wrote that in there in the live chat. Nobody's happier today and yesterday than our guy Kai Chen Chisholm. Kai Chen Chisholm from the Extra Yard and the 5 Reasons Sports Network. He is the biggest Mike McDaniel fan I know. I mean, basically 3 seconds after Brian Flores was fired, Kai's Mike McDaniel agenda started. He loves Mike McDaniel. So this is going to be, a happy 3 years for Kai, or hopefully longer, right? Because I know that the recent trend for coaches hired by the Miami Dolphins is 3 years later they get fired. I hope this one's going to be different. And I really think this one can be different. That was one of the things that I put out there in one of my pre-show tweets today is, while I do get the sense that a very good portion of the Dolphins fan base is really happy about Mike McDaniel being their next head coach, it's not that simple. Like, it's not unanimous. I've also heard a lot of people groaning about the hire and groaning about the entire interview process because there were so many coordinators considered with no head coaching experience, where people just think this is going to be rinse and repeat, right? This is just going to be the same sort of thing we had with Philbin, Adam Gase, Brian Flores, that all we're doing is we just keep hiring coordinators, never anybody with head coaching experience, and it's always going to end the same. I don't necessarily feel that way, guys. And I know that using words like don't necessarily, you're going to say, oh, who is this jackass straddling the fence? No, guys, maybe I don't necessarily feel that way is not the right way to word it. I'm actually really, really bullish on Mike McDaniel. I like this hire a lot. Do me a couple of favors here before we get to the meat and potatoes of this conversation. Whether you're watching us live right now or you watch this on replay later on YouTube, do us a favor and smash the like button. Smash that like button and make sure you subscribe to 5 Reasons Sports on YouTube. Why subscribe? Subscribe because it helps our channel grow. Why smash the like button? I'm very vain and I want to see a lot of people liking this video. But no, the real reason for that is the more likes we get, the more people are going to see this. That's how the YouTube algorithm works. So we want to spread the gospel that we are preaching on this show each and every day to as many people as possible. We want to corrupt their minds or free their minds, however you look at it. So make sure you like this video, and more people are going to see it. At about 3:15 today, we're going to talk with Alfredo Arteaga from 3 yards per carry. Now, with Alfredo, I really want to get into the football specifics because I've seen Alfredo tweeting up a storm today, and he has been in the lab watching a ton of film of the San Francisco 49ers offense and the fingerprints that Mike McDaniel, who was their offensive coordinator before he got hired as the Dolphins head coach, the fingerprints he put on that offense. And I would love Alfredo's opinions on how Miami's personnel can fit with a Mike McDaniel's offense and vice versa, how Mike McDaniel is going to tailor his offense to fit the Dolphins personnel, because I don't think there's a one-size-fits-all for this stuff. And I think a good thing for Dolphins fans everywhere is we got a guy who comes from a coaching tree where they don't try to put square pegs into round holes. They try to adapt their philosophies to the players that they have, and I think that's a really good thing. So, long story short, I like this Mike McDaniel hire a lot. When this Dolphins job came open, and I know some of you watch me every single day, which means you're capable of calling me on my bullshit when some of you aren't, if you're just watching for the first time today. But whether you watch this show for weeks, months, or you're tuning in for the first time today, it's no secret that when the Dolphins head coaching job came open, I preferred someone with head coaching experience. I would have loved the idea of Jim Harbaugh. Doug Peterson I would have loved, and he did end up getting a job in this cycle, and I think he's going to do well. In Jacksonville that he went to, and Jim Caldwell I was interested in. The Dolphins ended up going in a different direction. Okay, so I did prefer someone with head coaching experience for this job. However, out of the coordinators who were considered, the people with no head coaching experience like McDaniel, Brian Dable, Kellen Moore, etc., out of the coordinators the Dolphins interviewed, Mike McDaniel was my favorite by far. I think this hire has a ton more upside, for example, than Brian Dable, who I know many Dolphin fans, I think most of you have moved on at this point, but many Dolphins fans, when he ended up taking the job in New York, you were upset that he ended up with the Dolphins and not the Giants, okay? Now it's looking more and more based on very good reporting. There's a lot of bad reporting out there, but based on very good reporting, Ian Rappaport talked about this today, for example, that Miami's zeroing in on Mike McDaniel and waiting for him going by his timetable, right? Because the 49ers made a deep playoff run. That's a big reason, if not the only reason, why they didn't make a move for Brian Daboll, right? That they weren't going to rush to beat the Giants to an offer or outbid the Giants for Daboll when the Dolphins preferred McDaniel and they needed to wait for McDaniel to be available, okay? There were people who also reported this a week ago, so it's not breaking news, but now it's becoming even more apparent that the Miami Dolphins were zeroing in on Mike McDaniel, and that's why they didn't make a bona fide, legitimate offer or attempt to lock up Brian Daboll before he went to the Giants. Now, Brian Daboll, this is one of the things I love about this guy. He comes from a great, innovative coaching tree. The Kyle Shanahan tree is so hot right now, guys. Sean McVay, Matt LaFleur, they both worked with McDaniel under Kyle Shanahan. So did Robert Saleh with the Jets. Now, the jury is still out on Robert Saleh as a head coach, but he was a very hot candidate last year when he got the Jets job. So many head coaches from various trees, right? We've tried with the Belichick tree recently. So many head coaches just are cookie cutter, and they try to become imitations of the people who they worked under and came before them. McDaniel, on the other hand, and this is why I like Mike McDaniel more than somebody like Brian Daboll, this guy is highly respected and renowned for his innovation and his play design, especially in the running game and, of course, on the offensive side of the football. This guy is not an imitator. This guy is like the football version of Leonardo da Vinci. The Dolphins need a true renaissance in their running game and blocking schemes. This guy can help you do that. The Miami Dolphins need to put their, and I'm going to say a word that a lot of you don't like, they need to put their limited quarterback in the best possible position to succeed. Not only can this guy do it, he seems excited for the challenge, man. Every report that we have heard coming out of the interview process that ultimately landed Mike McDaniel in Miami, all these reports have indicated that McDaniel has enthusiasm and a sound plan on how to unlock Tua Tagovailoa's potential. The 49ers last year had the 7th best offense in the NFL in terms of yards per game, and that was with Jimmy Garoppolo at quarterback. If you can do that with Jimmy G, you can do it with Tua T, okay? And even though I am a self-proclaimed Tua Tagovailoa skeptic, I have two realities here on why this situation makes sense with Tua under McDaniel. Number one, doesn't make a whole lot of sense right now, guys, to move on from Tua this year based on who's available in the draft, when the Dolphins draft, because they've got the 29th overall pick, thanks to the San Francisco 49ers going so deep. Thanks a lot, Mike McDaniel. You already screwed the Dolphins before you even got here. And, also you're unlikely to get one of these whale free agent quarterbacks that come here. And, some people will bring up Deshaun Watson. Guys, his legal situation, who the F knows? I don't know. I curse on this show sometimes. Other times I hold back. I don't know. Who the F knows what Watson's legal situation is going to be when the league year opens in March. I wouldn't touch that right now. It's just too toxic. So the other reality that I have to accept, even as a Tua skeptic, is the last coach, no matter what you thought of Brian Flores, who did have 2 straight winning seasons. Congratulations. No Dolphins coach had done that since Dave Wanstead, 02 and 03. 2 straight winning seasons, but Brian Flores, who fumbled the bag on offense in a lot of different ways, coaching staff and otherwise, he didn't go out of his way to maximize Tua Tagovailoa, and that's putting it politely. Others would say he sabotaged Tua Tagovailoa, but he certainly didn't do Tua and Tua's developments any favors. Right now, Tua, remember, we spent a top 5 draft pick on this guy less than 2 years ago, so he at least deserves a real opportunity to show what he can or cannot do. And I think it's worth pointing out that if after a year, Tua's not cutting it, and if even Mike McDaniel's offense can't get the best out of Tua, then a year from now, the Dolphins will be in much better position to move on from Tua in 2023 than they are in 2022. So, bros, I know that there are some of you who hate Tua like poison, and you don't want to watch another second of Tua under center for the Miami Dolphins. If so, just don't watch next year. Like, I'm telling you, if you hate Tua that much that you just refuse to watch another snap of Dolphins football with Tua Tagovailoa as your starting quarterback, just do yourself a favor and do your sanity a favor and just sit next year out, okay? Because if he's as bad as you think he is, then next year at this time, we'll be talking about moving on to a new quarterback. But it's not happening this coming season. Nicole writes, Tua is going to ball out in 10 years. So when Tua is like 33 years old and he's playing for another team, it's like, after 9 years, the Dolphins finally move on from Tua Tagovailoa, and then he goes somewhere else and wins a Super Bowl. That would sound so Dolphins, man. And let me say this as well on the Mike McDaniel hire. For the first time in a long time through a very difficult week, it was just great. When this move was announced, it was great to get some Dolphins news that wasn't bad news, okay? We had tons of bad vibes throughout last week with the Brian Flores lawsuit and the allegations, the accusations. So let's give ourselves a few moments here, hopefully several years, but at least for now, a few moments to be excited about Mike McDaniel. And let's be excited that McDaniel was still excited to take this job despite all of the nefarious narratives around Stephen Ross and the Dolphins last week. I mean, the news last week, guys, it got so toxic that I would not have blamed anyone in his position for deciding he just didn't want to be with the Dolphins right now due to the toxicity. I know some of you out there think that that's actually the reason why Jim Harbaugh is not here and stayed with Michigan, because the Dolphins had this double secret probation, super secret plan to bring in Jim Harbaugh under the table. And then the lawsuit came out and he decided, you know what, I don't want depositions. I don't want to be part of that circus. Let me just stay in Michigan. Let me go back there with my tail between my legs. I don't really buy into that because to me, you could say the Dolphins kept things for the most part pretty leak-free throughout this coaching search, although I think, you know what, honestly, I don't even know if I want to give them that much credit, because I think part of the problem was there's just a lot of shitty reporters out there. Like, I don't know if this is like, do we need to give the Dolphins like a trophy for doing a great job with all this misinformation? Like, oh, we all think Dayball is coming or Kellen Moore is going to get that. Like, is that really on the Dolphins for keeping some amazing secret? Or are there just so many like bloggers out there who are just really bad at reporting stuff and they just gave you a lot of bad info and just some of you just take it and run with it? Like, I don't know, man. But honestly, I feel like if the Harbaugh thing was really as close to happening as some of you thought it was, we would have heard something about him interviewing, him being interested. You didn't hear it from any reliable sources. So I really think Mike McDaniel was the guy that they had focused on for at least the last couple of weeks. I really feel that way. I think if anybody knows things, I think our buddy Brooklyn Rob knows things. It's unfortunate he's not live in the chat today because he's got something for work. I mean, who has a job? It's 2022. Who works these days? Come on. But Brooklyn Rob has something going on with his job. He said he can't watch live today. But, for what it's worth, Brooklyn Rob has been telling me for like 2 weeks that McDaniel was the guy that the Dolphins wanted. Brian Daboll was a smokescreen. That's not really who the Dolphins want. And McDaniel was going to be the guy. I don't know if it was an incredibly lucky guess, or he tells me he's got sauces. So I don't know if it was his sauces giving him this amazing information or if he got lucky, but he was right, man. He was absolutely right about this. Okay. One of like the weird narratives going around on social, like, so sometimes, like, I think sometimes you just need to take a break from Twitter, whether it's a few hours or a few weeks, just take a break because and I know that right now, everybody's arguing about racial stuff in the NFL because, the Brian Flores lawsuit, and I'm hoping a lot of good comes out of that, by the way. Like, I'm hoping that this could be the most powerful spark we've had to this point to really influence changes in the way NFL teams hire and fire people, right? Because, I mean, there's not enough diversity in the league. But the Brian Flores lawsuit, like, everybody's talking about race right now with coaches. And one of the weird things that I keep seeing on social media, I keep seeing tweets from people questioning whether Mike McDaniel is really biracial, as if that might be something he's lying about. It's so bizarre. And then I see other people like tweeting out photos of his family that he might not actually want those being tweeted out to like prove that he's, but like, it's just like the whole thing is just so weird, man. Like, I don't want to get involved with all that. It's like, and you had a couple weeks ago that really dumbass story on Deadspin. Like, all you had to do before you write that story is Google Mike McDaniel and read a little bit about his background, because it's out there. He's done interviews, there are bios. Like, all that they had to do at Deadspin was Google him and read a 1-paragraph biography, and they wouldn't write the dumbest story I've ever seen in my entire life. They wrote a story a week or two ago saying that Mike McDaniel like shouldn't be hired as a head coach because it would just be another white guy getting a head coaching opportunity. The problem is he's not another white guy. He's biracial. So, and then like they didn't delete the story. They wrote like a retraction, but they left the whole. It was so weird. But like I think that this argument is unfreaking necessary. He is biracial. That's where the whole thing should start and finish. Like I don't need to see like his ancestry.com genetics page for, okay, now I believe it. Like I'm good with the information that I've been given. I'm good with that. All right, let's go out and bring in our first and only guest of the day. And this has been actually, before we pop him in, let me say this about the 5 Reasons Sports Network. I'm on here going live, started at 3 p.m. on Monday. By now, there has already been a ton of incredible coverage on 5reasonsports.com, 5 Reasons YouTube, and 5 Reasons podcast family members about the Mike McDaniel hiring. Like, our network has been all over it, and it's been incredible. And one of the many people who's been all over it and doing a great job is our next guest, who's on 3 yards per carry, which is really the only Miami Dolphins podcast you need in your life. Alfredo Arteaga is with us. Good afternoon, Alf. How are you? I'm guessing you're happy about this hire, correct?
Yeah, plus 600 is it's a pretty good take, right, for a Sunday.
Ooh, did you bet on that? Did he would get?
I tweeted 3 weeks ago I was going to bet on Mike McDaniel because reasons, okay. And if you were on OnlyFans for the last month, that was the name we started with and pretty much ended with from the very, very beginning. Brian Flores was fired. The next day we were on the air and we talked about our favorite candidates, and he was at the top of the list. He's the guy we settled on and most fans wanted, and I guess they got this one right?
Yeah, they say that is true. I'm envious of the way your bank account and your OnlyFins members' bank accounts are looking for today if they took your advice. So now there's been a lot of reporting, and some of this was happening before the hire, and we're seeing people like Ian Rappaport now also reporting it after the hire that, hey, look, a big reason why the Dolphins didn't try to like outbid or get in on Brian Daboll before he wound up with the Giants was that they were really waiting on Mike McDaniel. So it seems to me like, Alfredo, the fact that McDaniel took the job, to me, the pieces are starting to come together that this was a guy they've been focusing in on, if not from the very beginning of the coaching search, for the past couple of weeks of the coaching search.
Yeah, well, they tried to hire him last year to be the offensive coordinator for Brian Flores, and he declined to interview. Who knows why, right? But but this year, we kind of you kind of knew, okay, he's going to be on the list. He's not going to be on many lists, but he's going to be on one list. And it's interesting that, Mike McDaniel felt wanted, conducted the first interview, seemed to have knocked that one out of the park, which was about 40 to 50 minutes on Zoom. So they scheduled a longer interview, and they wanted to meet in person, get a lay of the land, so to speak, for 10 hours. And they came to the conclusion that a lot of people thought they would come to. Okay. And the reason Brian Daboll probably got out of here is that they wanted to cross all the I's and all the T's, right? So you got to figure Stephen Ross is in a room saying, I keep hearing that Brian Daboll is the hot candidate. Let's bring him in and let's talk to him. But I'm getting the sense that, Mike McDaniel's first interview was so good that they decided, okay, they probably spoke to Brian Daboll and told him, look, don't hold up your life over us because we have options we can go to. And Brian Daboll probably put 2 and 2 together, got a good sense of the situation and said, you know what, I better not pass up this opportunity with the Giants, because if I do, I might be left out in the cold because these guys might go with Mike McDaniel. And sure enough, they did.
Were you at any point with everything that came up last week with the allegations of Stephen Ross making the $100,000 per loss offer and the tampering stuff? Were you? Because admittedly I was a little bit concerned about what that might mean for candidates being interested in the job. Like, were you worried at any point that, oh man, maybe Mike McDaniel might say, I just don't want to be part of that toxicity, so this is not the right time or situation for me?
Nah, it's the situation. It's one of 32 jobs. It's still a very coveted job. It's a lot of money. You could put it on your resume, and you know how you advance yourself in this line of work, right?
Yeah.
You win. So there's not a single coach out there that comes into any situation, especially not this one, because this one actually has some talent on the defensive side. You got $70 million in payroll you get to add to this team this coming year. And you have 2 first-round picks the following year, right? But there's not a coach anywhere in the world that looks at a job and say, I'm probably not good enough to win games there.
Right.
I'm probably going to fail. But you know what? I'll take it for the money. I think every coach looks at every situation, as hopeless as it may be. Like right now, Lovie Smith is looking at his roster and saying, I'm going to win 9 games with this thing next year. Dan Campbell this past year, I'm certain he looked at the Detroit Lions and said, you know what? I could squeeze 9 wins out of this thing.
All we just need some Oklahoma drills and practice. We'll be fine.
There's not, coaches have egos. And yes, this one is going to have one as well. They all think they can do better than the predecessor, right?
Yeah.
And this one has a good reason to think so. So, yeah, if we get right down to it, there should be no honeymoon. This team won 10 games. They won 9. And in my opinion, that 9-8 was underachieving by at least 1 game. They should have made the playoffs. So those are the expectations for next year. Win 10 and get into the playoffs. You do that, we're moving, onwards and upwards.
Well said. I'll reiterate this for those who just tuned in over the last few minutes, because I know a lot of people, and God bless you, are hopping in because they want to see what Alfredo Arteaga has to say. Big reason why I'm so bullish on this Mike McDaniel hire and why I think it's lazy. Like, I know people out there are saying, oh, look at this, another coordinator is going to be just another version of Philbin, Adam Gase, or the same problem over and over again. The big difference here is Mike McDaniel is a legitimate innovator. Like, this guy, he is not a product of his environment. Like, this guy actually creates his own environment. Like, he is actually changing the way offenses, like, he's the one getting imitated by other people. He's like changing the way people draw up offensive plays around the league, and that's a big difference for me. So, Alf, I want to talk about what a Mike McDaniel offense might look like, because I think another lazy narrative is anyone who just thinks, oh, we're gonna find our own Deebo Samuel, they're just gonna do things the same way San Francisco did. I don't think they're giving Mike McDaniel enough credit. I think this guy is intelligent enough and innovative enough to actually come up with new plays, new designs, new schemes to fit the personnel he's inheriting, and drafting is coming draft and all that. So as to what a Mike McDaniel offense might look like, and it's not to say we can't learn anything from his time in San Francisco, because I know you were tweeting today, Alf, that you've been watching a lot of 49ers offensive film, and give the people out there a little bit of hope, because you said something about Austin Jackson. Do you think Mike McDaniel might be the guy to save Austin Jackson's career in the NFL?
If there was one guy on that offensive line that should be really, really, pumped today about who they hired to be the head coach, it should be Austin Jackson. He's really, really athletic. There is some tape on him in 2020 when he played at tackle, doing a lot of the things that Mike McDaniel is going to ask the tackles to do here. So he's already kind of done it and put it on film. So it's just it's a matter of figuring out what happened this past year, what is there to salvage, and how are you going to attempt to salvage it? And are you going to try to do that at tackle or at guard? But yeah, he's an athletic type, and he can move, and he's good at finding people in space. So I think him and Robert Hunt have an opportunity here. I think they absolutely have an opportunity here. Guys that don't have, I don't think Jesse Davis has an opportunity in football, period.
Right. But take up badminton or something, Jesse.
I'm gonna have to dig into some Liam Eichenberg tape from this past year, because I don't remember seeing him do many of the things that Mike McDaniel asks his tackles to do in his run game. So I guess that's a wait and see. Yeah. Dieter has also an opportunity because he's very rangy. He has long arms, so he could get to those second level blocks, and he is powerful on doubles, so he's good for their inside zone run game, right? So there's some elements. You just got to see it in practice.
By the way, what do you think about this message from Level 2 Noob? Expectation has to be 10 wins in the playoffs. We're told the defense will be the same. McDaniel unlocks the offense. Now, one thing,
I agree.
So it's interesting because I was going to say I'm just going to take a step back from that because I feel like every time with either of the Miami football teams, because I've made this mistake before for the Canes, and I know obviously there's a lot of excitement in Coral Gables with Mario Cristobal, and they just stole the fucking offensive coordinator from Michigan, which is incredible. I know the expectations there are sky high. A lot of people to me, I'm taking.
Yeah, by the way, I got to say this.
Yeah.
I had a back and forth on Twitter. What was it, like 2 weeks ago with some Arkansas Razorback fans? And they were trying to gloat on about how their offensive coordinator turned down the University of Miami. Well, there you have it. Okay.
I love that. I love that.
I don't advocate putting Arkansas on the schedule, though. At least not this coming year. No. Put them on the schedule 2024. We'll be ready for them. All right.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of bummed that the Texas A&M is on the schedule this year.
That's not going to be good.
That's not going to be good at all. They beat us for Shamar Stewart and #1 recruiting class in the country. They're really good. It's going to be a really, really tough game.
And if you saw Jimbo, he's fired up, man. So,
oh my God.
Yeah, he's going to want to hang a number on us when we play.
Yeah, he certainly is, man. All right, so going back to what Level 2 Noob said. So you think that's a fair expectation, 10 wins and playoffs this year?
Yeah, they're basically telling you by exactly what they did, right? They fired Brian Flores and they said, look, it's not about football and we like the roster. Stephen Ross explicitly said, look, I like the roster, right? So they're basically telling you, okay, this team did not meet expectations. We fired Brian Flores for other reasons other than football,
right?
Okay. Their over-under total last year was 9.5 wins. They got 9. They underachieved, period. They didn't have a bunch of injuries. Yes, they had one at the quarterback position. I think that one meant a lot. But they couldn't eke out one win with Jacoby Brissett. So, yeah, the expectations have to be 10 and make the playoffs. I'm not going to ask them to make the AFC Championship game, but you should win 10 and you should make the playoffs. The team is going to be good enough. They're going to add $70 million in extra payroll, another draft, another year of these younger players getting better, developing. Absolutely a better offensive system, and this run game. The run game that they intend to build is the quickest path to get you where you want to go. Right? You have an efficient passer. You run the ball. You play defense. 10 wins. We're not asking for something crazy here.
All right, let's talk a little bit more about Tua. Everyone knows I am a Tua skeptic. I think he has limitations. However, for right now, at least for the next several months, I want the Tua haters to take their foot off the gas pedal. I know some people are upset. They see photoshops that people are making with McDaniel and Tua. They hate Tua's guts. They want to move on. Guys, Tua Tagovailoa is going to be Miami's quarterback next year, and that to me would have been with any coach that they hired. Honestly, if things don't work out next year, it would make more sense to move on from Tua in 2023 than it does in 2022. So I think it's a really good thing that Mike McDaniel, to me, seems innovative enough that he can actually put Tua in the best possible position to succeed, because even though I think that quarterback has limitations, I admit the last head coach did him absolutely no favors. And I like the fact that this coach seems to be enthusiastic to work with Tua, where the previous one clearly was not. So, Alf, you talked about this a little bit, having an accurate passer, but what would you expect Mike McDaniel to do to try and maximize Tua Tagovailoa?
Well, first of all, the RPO is going to have a little bit of teeth to it now, right? And a lot of the actions that they're going to have off of the RPO are not only going to benefit the run game, which obviously it should, but it's going to benefit Tua. You're going to have a lot of misdirection, a lot of trickery in essence, that's going to buy him time to throw on time. And that's something that Tua Tagovailoa has always been really good at. They didn't do too much of it this past year as far as play action. So there's going to be that element as well. And that commitment to running the football. And Mike McDaniel said it best. I find it hilarious how some people just looked at Mike McDaniel and said, "Oh, another analytics guy." Why? Because he went to Yale? No,
Right.
like if you listen to the
Because
guy
he
talk
looks like a
football,
nerd. That's why people
yeah.
say that, because he looks like Wayne Zielinski.
If you listen to the guy talk football, he sounds like Don Shula in the 70s. Okay. He
Bon
says,
Shula.
exactly. You got to run the football to get teams out of two deep safety, because if you get them out of two deep safety, they go to single high, and if they go to single high, you could throw it deep on them. Okay, that is football 101 since the day it was invented. Okay, so there's not much analytics about that. That is just basic. Run the football to open up the pass, and that's all he really talked about. And I think that's something that's going to help Tua eventually. They build any kind of run game. They build a top 10 run game, and I understand everybody says, "Oh, this run game was awful." It was better with Duke toward the end of the year.
It was.
But you're going to devote $70 million in payroll. Yeah, this run game better be good, right? And if it's better, you get to have Tua throw against single high. And if you get Tua throwing against single high, he's going to have a lot of one-on-ones. You have Waddle. You have who knows who else they get him in free agency. He could do that. Like he can be accurate throwing one-on-one routes all the time. So yeah, absolutely. It's the system. It's the best thing you could have done for Tua Tagovailoa. And as Dan Orlovsky said, this is Mike McDaniel. Mike McDaniel's spawn of Kyle Shanahan. Kyle Shanahan is from Steve Sarkisian, who was Tua's offensive coordinator for a year. Steve Sarkisian. So we're all, it's an incestuous thing going on here.
Let's answer this question from our guy, Devin Jordan. And thank you so much for the super chat. We appreciate it. If anyone is willing to donate something in the tip jar, hit the super chat. I usually just funnel all the money to Manny Chang, we got so many super chats last week. Manny Chang was running the show from his yacht today. So, I mean, it's been going to a good cause here.
Did he have Tom Brady on there to impress him?
He had a little tampering lunch. He's trying to get Brady out of retirement.
That's the weakest part of that lawsuit. Like I'll never understand that part.
Yeah. Because I mean, first of all, I mean it's so common in the end. We don't even need to revisit that. We talked it to death last week. But Devin Jordan wants to know: does McDaniel keep the current coaching staff? I'm sure he's talking about the defensive. Well, I guess he could be talking offensive. I hope he shoots the current offensive coaching staff to the other side of the galaxy. But I think the bigger question is the defensive staff, Alf, because there have been some reports, and I tend to believe these reports more so that he's going to stick with Josh Boyer and most of the current defensive staff. There are other reports saying he's going to go out and grab Vic Fangio, and I guess I'd be fine with either of those outcomes. But what do you think is going to happen? Is it going to be status quo or a splash like Fangio?
I think they'll probably try the Fangio route just so he could have his complete structure. Because I don't think he's ever coached with Josh Boyer. I have to investigate to see if they've ever crossed paths or not. But he has crossed paths with Vic Fangio before, so it does make perfect sense. As far as keeping some of those coaches, yeah, why wouldn't you keep good coaches?
Right.
Like, does it make any sense whatsoever to call in Gerald Alexander and Charles Burke today, or Austin Clark, and tell them, hey, guess what? Your units were great and your players love you. You're fired. Like, that doesn't make a lot of sense, does it? Right?
None.
So you pick and choose, right? You pick and choose the guys that have had success here. And look, let's face it, Gerald Alexander, Charles Burks, Austin Clark, Josh Boyer as well. They get fired here, they'll have a job within minutes elsewhere. So why fire good coaches? I do suspect that on the offensive side of the ball, everybody has contacted a real estate agent in the last 14 to 16 hours. And yeah, I would expect wholesale changes on that side of the ball, because we're talking completely different systems. I mean,
some of the coaches on the offensive side of the ball should be calling real estate agents in Canada, because they should be looking for CFL jobs with.
I don't know. The USFL is starting up. They need coaching staffs, right? It's a good gig. You get the double dip. You got paid, for 17 weeks earlier in the year. Now you get paid in the summer. Good idea.
Not a bad idea. A couple people were referencing this in the live chat. The Shanahan coaching tree, that's the hottest tree right now, right? I mean, the Belichick coaching tree has been exposed time and time again. I mean, the Shanahan coaching tree, you've got people like Sean McVay and Matt LaFleur out there. And, I think the jury is obviously still out on Robert Saleh, but he was a hot candidate last year. Now Mike McDaniel gets a big job with the Dolphins. And to me, I look at this coaching tree, the Shanahan coaching tree, and unlike the Belichick rotten coaching tree, because it seems like every coach that comes from the Belichick tree, and there are some very good coordinators there who continue to be good coordinators to this day, just not good head coaches. They go wherever they go and they try to be Bill Belichick. Whereas
all the fruit from the Bill Belichick tree gives you food poisoning, right?
Right.
Yeah, it's just, the Shanahan tree is obviously the hot one. And Bill Walsh's tree is still going, by the way.
That's right.
If you think about it, Eric Bieniemy gets this job in New Orleans, where I suspect he will. Okay? Then that tree is still giving off fruit. And Bill Walsh has not coached in over 25 years. So, there's something to be said about that. And all of them have success. And I believe Kevin O'Connell might get a job soon. So, it just makes perfect sense, right? Like, this is the right tree to glom onto.
Absolutely. So, Alfredo, we've had now a full week to digest the Brian Flores lawsuit. Now, on the one hand, regardless of some of the specific allegations, I hope that this lawsuit ends up being a spearhead for change in the hiring process for NFL coaches, because I do think that needs reform. So something very good could come out of this. But there's also some other stuff, specific allegations against Stephen Ross, which I know he was weaving a full narrative about being branded as the angry black man. That was part of his complaint. But some of the allegations, as far as Miami goes, not specifically racial, but, as far as you mentioned how weak the whole tampering thing was. But then you also have, which is a very, very serious allegation, on the $100,000 offer, essentially a bribe per loss in 2019. Now that we've had a week to digest this thing, what do you expect to come out of this? And how bad could this get for Stephen Ross if these allegations can get corroborated, or even if there is some smoking gun of proof that may or may not be out there?
Yeah, I've heard some people saying, just find a witness, bring in a witness to say the same thing and you're golden.
Right.
It doesn't work that way. Okay. Especially in the state of Florida. I understand. Yeah. Okay. The NFL is a club, and I've heard it said, the NFL can do whatever the hell they want. They can't do whatever the hell they want. This is an asset. This is a private business. Okay. You don't even have an association in the NFL. It's 32 different owners. The only way you could kick Stephen Ross out is by having a 3/4 vote to kick him out of the league. And then he still gets to sell to whoever the hell he feels like selling, as long as the NFL approves. Well, guess what? The NFL already approved the sale to Bruce Beal. So he'll just sell to Bruce Beal, which he's going to do anyway. Now, as far as punishment, that's a different story. Okay? Because that's the NFL. And there, the NFL can do whatever the hell it wants. It's just a kangaroo court. You could do, Roger Goodell could wake up tomorrow morning and say 45 first-round picks. And the Dolphins have to pay 45 first-round picks. There's nothing you can do in that sense, okay? I'm thinking they're going to need something, okay?
Yeah.
Because Stephen Ross, and I'm talking about real proof, and it can't be somebody just saying, oh, yeah, I heard it.
Right.
I heard him say it.
Like a deckhand from the yacht was like, oh yeah, I saw Brady, and I heard about $100,000 offer.
Yeah, it can't be something like that, and it can't even be a player either. Okay,
right.
It's gonna have to be somebody that's currently employed with the team, or recording, or documentation, something tangible. Okay, for the Dolphins to actually be punished with this, because if not, Stephen Ross does know where all the bones are buried.
Mm-hmm.
And last I checked, on Sunday, you have a team playing that essentially bought a roster, and another team playing representing the AFC that tanked the hell out of a season to get Joe Burrow. So we can play this game forever if you want. Right. And I'm pretty sure Stephen Ross would. Yeah. So, it has to be something tangible. But, I do warn people, Stephen Ross is not going to prison for this, okay?
No.
like the idiots on Pro Football Talk that had Stephen Ross doing a perp walk. Yeah, okay, nice fantasy, Florio, but that's not happening.
No.
Can the Dolphins get punished for this? Absolutely. Yeah. Okay, so keep an eye on that, and let's be real. That's all we should care about, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Like, I'm not going to lose any sleep with Stephen Ross. When the worst thing that can happen to Stephen Ross is that he'll be forced to take like a $10 billion check.
Yeah.
By
the way, last thing here before we let you run, we do have the Super Bowl this Sunday. You mentioned the Bengals, the team from the AFC that tanked like crazy. They tanked better than we did a couple of years ago because Flores wouldn't take the bag. So the Bengals tanked better than we did. Then, you have a stacked Rams team that gets to play at home. Like second year in a row, you get a home team in the Super Bowl. I'm going with the Rams. I haven't studied the lines yet. It's the Super Bowl, so I'm going to have like 30 bets on it, like 29 props, and I'm going to bet somebody at the spread. But are you going with the Rams? Do you think they win easily, or do the Bengals pull it out?
Yeah, I do this every single year. Like it's Super Bowl time. Like I'll bet I'll probably have maybe $500,000 in bets, and then at the end of the year, at the end of the day, I'll look like I lost $10. And that's happened before, by the way.
It happened to me last year. Yeah,
it wasn't $500,000, but it was like 3 years ago. I had in excess of $1,000, and at the end of the night, I won $15.
Oh, it's so true. I remember last year, Alf. Last year, I remember the exact number. I had 19 bets on the game. And it was probably like a lot of the props. I just sprinkled a few bucks here and there, but I think I had like maybe $700-800 in bets, 19 different bets, and I think I was like minus $55 at the end of the game. So it is what it is.
That's usually how it happens. I can't for the life of me think that Lou Anarumo, that's the defensive coordinator of the Cincinnati Bengals, who's done a fabulous job. I can't think for the life of me that he's gonna do it again, right?
Mm-hmm.
This time on the road again with the Rams. I think it's the Rams' time.
Yeah.
I think we're in for a really, really good game. I think it's going to be really close, and I think the Rams pull it out at the end. And I'll give you a score. How does 27-24 sound like?
Sounds like a good game. I mean, some decent amount of points scored, close game. I would take that, man. Like I hate it. I hate it when the Super Bowl is like over right after the halftime shows. Like I want to have a great game throughout.
Yeah, you remember when there was a 16-year streak of blowouts of games that were over at halftime.
Yep.
And then we started getting into a streak of all of the games were close and all the games were tight. So yeah, let's hope for another good game. And if there's not a good game, there's plenty of ways to make it interesting and exciting, right?
Sure is, man. And I'll let you go on that note because I want to tell people how they can make it interesting and exciting. But before we let you run, Alf, you got a new. I saw there's a new. I haven't listened to it yet. I'm gonna listen to it tonight. But there is a new episode out of 3 yards per carry. Where can people find that?
You can get all our episodes wherever you get your podcasts, on Spotify, on iTunes. There isn't a new episode right now. We just put up an episode where we talked about Mike McDaniel for almost an hour. So
you don't count that as an episode? I count that as an episode.
Yeah, I guess I do, right? Like give us more downloads. Yeah. I'll be happy with that. But we'll be dropping a new one as soon as this presser comes down, so we can analyze what he talked about in the presser. We're gonna cover all aspects of this. We're gonna tell you who's on the good side of this hire on this roster and who's on the bad side of this hire on this roster. And we'll talk assistant coaches because I'm pretty certain there's going to be some interesting names going through here in the next few days.
Well said. Alfredo Arteaga, 3 yards per carry. Make sure you check it out on all the platforms where you find your pods. Alf, thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your week.
Thank you for having me.
Bringing it strong like always. Like Alfredo mentioned, there are plenty of ways to make the big game. You know the one I'm talking about, the one that's going to be in Los Angeles this Sunday. There are plenty of ways to make that interesting, even if the game's not very close. Guys, if there was ever a time to hop on board the BetUS.com bandwagon, this week is the time to do that. Now, I'm very grateful. A lot of our viewers for the past several months since July, when we started this show, we've had BetUS.com on board since this show launched. So many of you have jumped on board. I see the numbers. I know how many of you have signed up, and it's awesome. BetUS has been very happy with our partnership so far. But for whatever reason, if you haven't gotten on board yet at BetUS.com, which is a full-service sports book, online sports book, and yes, it's available in Florida. If you haven't jumped on board yet, this is the week to do it. That big game that's happening in LA this weekend between the Rams and the Bengals, there are so many opportunities to have fun and even make some money this weekend. Guys, they're going to have live betting on the game. They're going to be prop bets. You can bet the coin toss. You can bet the over-under on how long the national anthem goes. You can bet on who scores the first touchdown, which team, which players will score touchdowns, who's going to throw the most interceptions. I do this every year, and I have an absolute blast, win or lose. And listen, the people who watch this show, they call me the mush, right? Some of you out there actually do really well placing wagers. And if you don't listen to me, listen to the gambling experts we bring on every week. If you've been listening to Lee Sterling for the past several months, you've won money. If you've been listening to Barry Barger, you have won money. We bring on great people to give gambling advice on this program. BetUS.com gives you an awesome opportunity with props, money line, spread to make money this coming Sunday, guys. It's so easy to sign up. Just go to betus.com. When you create your account and make your deposit, they're going to ask you if you have a promo code. You do have a code. You have our code, and we give you the best bonus in the gambling industry. You're not going to find this anywhere else, guys. When you type in our code, 5RSN125, that's 5RSN125. Write it down if you don't think you're going to remember it. Type that in when you make your deposit, and they're going to give you a 125% sign-up bonus. If you deposit $100, they're going to give you $125 of free play money on top of that deposit. If you want to make a ton of wagers this Sunday, you deposit $1,000, they're going to give you $1,250 of free play money on top of your deposit, and anything in between. Those numbers are just easy for me to do the math, right? Make your deposit. They're going to match it and a little bit extra, 125% sign-up bonus at betus.com. And it's not just the NFL, guys. You can bet on NBA games, NHL. We have a UFC pay-per-view this weekend. You can wager on that. International soccer. You will find just about everything you can imagine at America's favorite sports book, the 3-decade leader. This is their 27th NFL season they're in right now. BetUS.com. You bet, you win, you get paid. BetUS.com. And guys, if you're looking for a place to watch the big game, and I get that, man, you don't want to like cook at home or order catering. You don't want to have people over at your house. You'd rather meet up somewhere. Great place to watch is the Quarterdeck Seafood Bar and Neighborhood Grill. They're going to have it on all the TVs. They've got dozens of TVs in every store. They've got big screens. They've got screens out on the patio. It's such a great place to vibe and watch sports. And even if you're not thinking about the big game there this Sunday, you can watch NBA games, NHL games, the UFC fights on Saturday. Yeah, they have every UFC pay-per-view for zero cover charge at the Quarterdeck. They've got locations all over Broward County. They've got 2-for-1 happy hour all day, every day. The Quarterdeck is a great place to wet your whistle. The beer is always ice cold. Guys, the seafood is so delicious. I love the buffalo shrimp. That's my favorite appetizer. I love the fresh sushi, the poke bowl, the fresh mahi-mahi is absolutely delicious. The burgers and sandwiches are incredible. The pasta dishes, the salads are really good. The key lime cheesecake is the ultimate dessert. You can have it all at the Quarterdeck Seafood Bar and Neighborhood Grill. If you want to check out their menu before you go or find the location nearest to you, go to their website. All the info is there. I love looking at the menu. Even though I've been there 100 times, I still like to look at the menu online, decide what I want before I go. You can find that at quarterdeckrestaurants.com. The Quarterdeck, come for the food, stay for the fun. Oh man, I want to go through some shout outs. This was a good weekend for my football teams. I mean, the Miami Hurricanes, people had been stressing about who the offensive coordinator was going to be because, oh my God, Kendall Briles said no. He wanted more money at Arkansas and he got it. Jason Candle said no. Oh, we're not going to get anybody. They stole the offensive coordinator from Michigan. Miami just doesn't do that. Like, you guys understand. I know some of you are new to this, And you've been looking the last couple of months, and we've got boosters now at Miami. We've got the Ruiz family, writing checks. So you think, oh, yeah, they just got Mario Cristobal. This is what Miami does. They've won national titles before. I'm 37 years old. Been a Miami Hurricanes fan all my life. I went to that university. I followed this program very closely since the late 1980s. Miami doesn't do what they just did. Like Miami, first of all, they don't spend the kind of money that they spent on Mario Cristobal. Like you don't take head coaches from Oregon, and you certainly don't take sitting offensive coordinators from Michigan, especially after the year Michigan just had. Like Miami just does. Like I was dumbfounded by it in a good way. When I started to see the reports over the weekend that Miami was hiring Josh Gattis from Michigan to be their offensive coordinator, I wanted to make sure that I wasn't getting punked. Like I wanted to make sure that the people reporting it were legitimate, right? So there's that, and then you've got Mike McDaniel, who I'm really really happy, and we devoted the episode to him. If you're tuning in late, you want to go back and watch from the beginning. As soon as we're done live, the replay is going to be instantly available on YouTube. Go back and watch because we broke down first the reasons why I think Mike McDaniel could very well be different from the previous coordinators we've given jobs to. I know a lot of folks are bent out of shape that, hey, we're going with another guy without head coaching experience, right? How is this going to be any different from Philbin and Gase and Flores? We're the definition of insanity. We're just doing the same thing over and over and over again, expecting a different result. Now, to be fair to my own narrative, when the job came open, I said it and I said it repeatedly. I preferred someone with head coaching experience for the reasons I just stated. Don't roll the dice, okay? At the same time, I have to sit back and say, you know what? Out of all the quote-unquote coordinators that the Dolphins interviewed and looked at, Mike McDaniel to me is by far the best of that bunch. At the end of the day, can I say, hey, I wish we'd rolled with somebody like Doug Peterson, or I wish we could have gotten Jim Harbaugh, who ended up staying at Michigan? Yeah, I'd probably still lean to that, but I am bullish on Mike McDaniel because he has potential to be truly special. You know how intelligent he is as a Yale grad. You know how successful he's been working his way up the Shanahan coaching tree. And the big thing about McDaniel to me, and why I think it's incredibly unfair for anybody to try to compare Mike McDaniel, because some people say, oh, this is another Joe Philbin because he didn't call plays as an OC in Green Bay and he failed here, or this is another Adam Gase, an offensive guru who's just going to make a mess of everything. That's an unfair comparison because right out of the gates, Mike McDaniel is an innovator in a way those other names I mentioned never were and probably never will be. Joe Philbin was just a yes man and a coattail rider of Aaron Rodgers' success. Adam Gase, yes man, overthinker, and a coattail rider of Peyton Manning's success. Mike McDaniel has had proven success over time with mediocre quarterbacks, bad quarterbacks, several different teams, and he is widely renowned and respected for being a brilliant play designer. Oh, and another thing, by the way, people will bring up is, well, why are we giving a head coaching gig to an offensive coordinator who didn't call plays? Oh my, why would we do that? A couple things, guys. How many of you want him as head coach to be calling plays? Probably virtually none of you, right? You don't want a head coach to be giving himself that many responsibilities, right? So if you don't want your head coach calling plays, why do you care if he was calling plays at his previous stop? And, to be fair, he was sharing play calling duties, it's been reported, with Kyle Shanahan. Kyle Shanahan was the primary play caller. McDaniel was doing some of that. I still don't think that's a deal breaker. Like, to me, if you don't want your head coach to be a play caller, why do you care if he was calling plays at his previous stop? I don't think that's a deal breaker whatsoever, man. I think you've actually hired a guy. Am I guaranteeing you that Mike McDaniel is going to succeed? Am I guaranteeing you this guy is going to win a Super Bowl here, get to a Super Bowl, win multiple playoff games? I can't make any guarantee like that because I'm not stupid. I'm a Dolphins fan. I've been beaten down so many years as a Dolphins fan. I only allow myself to get so excited. At the same time, I think a lot of the reasons why some of you don't like this hire are unfair or unfounded. This guy, to me, he is as innovative probably as any coach we've hired since That guy we hired, in the late 60s, early 70s. I don't remember exactly what year he got the job. And I don't want to say the name because I don't want to compare the two of them. I'm just saying when it comes to innovation, I think this is the most innovative guy we've hired in decades. So I'm going to give McDaniel a chance. The same way I'm going to give Tua a chance for another year under McDaniel. And I know, and by the way, I respect the hell out of you, Nicole. Big challenge with Tua, huge. And I know Nicole and a few other people in the chat are being pretty vocal against Tua. There was somebody earlier in the chat talking about Tua just being mediocre, and that's what it is. Here's my thing, and you guys know me. Like, some people come to me because they think I'm a Tua hater. In reality, I'm a Tua skeptic. I know he has limitations. And I think Tua needs to be in an excellent situation if he's going to succeed. Why not at least give him an opportunity with an excellent situation is what I'm saying. To me, I think next year would be a better time to replace Tua than this year, right? You've got a crappy draft pick this year. I know that there are some flashy free agent quarterbacks. They're not coming here, I don't believe. I don't believe you can put your eggs in the basket of Deshaun Watson because, you're going to need to have some serious answers about his legal status within about the next month. And I don't know if you're going to get those in time. And also Stephen Ross has already made it clear he's not willing to acquire Deshaun Watson unless his legal situation is settled. It wasn't settled by the November 2nd trade deadline. If it's not settled by, the New Year League opening, which is March 16th, or by the time the draft rolls around, because you should be making the trade before or by then. If it's not settled by then, he's not going to be a Dolphin. And I don't believe you can put your eggs in that basket. I think the most sensible and realistic option here is Tua Tagovailoa, who you invested a 5th overall pick in just 2 years ago, gets another year with a coach who doesn't have his head up his ass and is actually going to try to use him properly, right? Because, listen, Brian Flores, I know, produced 2 straight winning seasons here. He didn't do Tua any favors. Did not do Tua any favors these last couple of seasons. Mike McDaniel will. And then for the Tua haters out there, let me say this. By the end of next season, if Tua is still mediocre or just another guy, then you can laugh loudest. Right. If you guys think that you are like cocky already right now after 2 years, if Tua can't take the next step 3rd season under a guy like Mike McDaniel, who's actually going to innovate the offense and put Tua in a better position to succeed, if Tua is still just another guy at the end of next year, then that's the real victory for you guys. That's the real victory for the Tua haters. You can make the Tua stands' lives miserable, and there will be nothing they can do about it. Like, think about the victory lap the Tua haters can take a year from now if Tua is still not great. The Tua stands will be having to change their Twitter names because all those mouth breathers, they have like Tua's name in their Twitter name, and they've got pictures of Tua in their avatars. And honestly, guys, I think the Tua stands are just as bad as the Tua haters. Like, I make fun of the extremists on both sides. But if Tua is still not great next year, you can make the stands' lives so miserable. They're all going to have to delete their Twitter accounts, and it's going to be great, man. So I'm telling you. And yeah, color commentary is right. No reason to hope for failure, though. I'm not hoping for failure. Some of you will no matter what, okay? Like, I'm not hoping for failure. So, but for the Tua haters, you win either way. Either the Dolphins are better next year or Tua crashes and burns, and then you can really go after the Tua stands. So, listen, it is what it is. All right, I want to throw some shout-outs here before we wrap up this episode. Oh, and I also want to say for the 2nd straight week, and it's a quick turnaround because it was Thursday last week. It's Monday this week. I will be guest hosting Larry Bluestein's radio show on 560 WQAM, the South Florida High School Sports Show. So tune in about 2 hours. In about 2 hours, I'm going to be on 560 WQAM, just keeping the seat warm for the great Larry Bluestein, hosting a show from 6 until 8 o'clock tonight. And if you guys get a chance, I think I still have the tweet pinned to the top of my Twitter profile. If you have a chance, and if you're able to spare something, please donate to the GoFundMe account for Larry Bluestein and his family. He's recovering, but he had a really, really rough month of January into February in the hospital. Was on a ventilator, sedated for a long, long time. Got very, very weak. He needs a lot of physical therapy. He's doing better. He's been off the ventilator now for over a week. He was actually moved from the hospital to a rehabilitation facility, and he is recovering and he is fighting. And that is one tough SOB. I've known Blue for 16, 17 years, and nothing is going to beat that dude. Like, he's been through, and the reason why he got so sick was pre-existing conditions. He, about 10 years ago, received a kidney transplant. He's also got some heart problems. So that's why COVID hit him really, really hard, even though he was vaccinated and boosted. But, the drugs that he's on for his kidney transplant, it really wrecks your immune system. So it's tough to deal with anything. He's had a really, really tough time. So if you can spare anything, I put a link in my Twitter profile. You can see it here at Alex Donno. I put the link where you can find the GoFundMe page for Larry Bluestein and his family, because, hospital bills and rehab bills and equipment for home therapy is incredibly expensive, and they could use whatever you guys can spare, he and his wonderful family. So check that out. And thank you so much, Nicole. Prayers for Larry. So I'll be hosting his radio show tonight, 6 to 8 p.m. on 560 WQAM. And unfortunately, unlike Blue, I am not a high school football expert. I do follow recruiting, and I find whatever time, and I'm going to be talking to a couple of high school coaches tonight, which will be good because they can help carry me a little bit. And I'm also going to be talking to a couple recruiting experts, so we can still look back on National Signing Day from last week. And I want to talk about the journeys of a couple of awesome high school coaches. So we're going to have 4 great guests tonight between 6 to 8 p.m. on 560. Let me throw some more shout outs. David, who is he is religious to this show. I don't know what his denomination is in real life, but on this show, he is in the chat every single day. We appreciate you. Nicole, thank you so much. I'm not sure if I've seen you in the chat before. Don't be a stranger. Feel free to get in and shoot the breeze with us every single day. Color commentary, I've been seeing him a lot in here lately. You were awesome. Thank you so much for tuning in. Q, thank you so much for tuning in. Gus, thank you so much. I love how I love how the people in the live chat will sometimes, they'll interact with each other, not just with me, and I think that's great. We build a community. Oh, you remember that, by the way. That was, the Dolphins. I think it was either 05 or 06. I think it was 05. The year that Mike Tomlin ended up the Steelers head coach, and he, has been tremendous. Like, there's no other way to put it. One of the best coaches of a generation. The Dolphins allegedly, and this was a different regime back then, so you can't blame anybody in charge now for what happened then, but they didn't want to hire Mike Tomlin, who did interview for the job, because they referred to him as being too hip-hop. So you imagine how things could have been different for this franchise. Thank you for reminding us of that, Scummy. And again, like, you can't blame Stephen Ross or Chris Greer, anybody in charge now, for that. I mean, I think Chris Greer may have been, and obviously Chris Greer is black, so he wouldn't have said that about Mike Tomlin. But, Chris Greer, I think, was with the Dolphins, but he was not in any position at that point. He was a scout. Like, he didn't have any input on hiring coaches then, and that's the reason why we passed on Mike Tomlin, which is one of the amazing mistakes in the history of this franchise, right? All the times we missed out on quarterbacks and the times we missed out on certain coaches as well. Hopefully we got the coaching hire right this time. Level 2 noob, thank you so much. McDaniel get to teach Tua how to shoot lasers from his eyes and score 328 points a game. Speaking of laser eyes, like, has Tua ever expressed an opinion on Bitcoin? Because, Bitcoiners, and I'm into Bitcoin and crypto, the real hardcore Bitcoiners, they always have the pictures with the laser eyes, like, on their social media. Maybe Tua needs to invest in some freaking Bitcoin, man, because I've never heard. Like, I know Brady's into it. Like, a lot of NFL players are into it. I have no idea what Tua's stance is on Bitcoin. In fact, if I were to find out that Tua is pro Bitcoin, I would stop hating on the guy. I'd be even more of a fan. If I find out he is anti-Bitcoin, I'm going to start making some calls and seeing how we can replace him. I'm a mixed scientist, Donno. Not a mixed coach. You're a mixed scientist. That's one of the things. Like, I like the Mike McDaniel, the Photoshops, where they have his face on McLovin, because he kind of resembles McLovin from Superbad, and it's McCochin. That stuff makes me laugh, man. All right, let's see who else I can shout out. Our guy, Ray Grullon, thank you so much. Mr. Potato Head Philbin did not have McDaniel's resume, period. You're right. I think it's very, when anybody tries to compare McDaniel to Joe Philbin, it's incredibly lazy. Like, they only have one thing in common, and that is, they were offensive coordinators who were not play callers. That's where it ends. Like, that's the only thing that they had in common. Very unfair to compare the two, in my opinion. Big Dan 305, thank you so much. Oh, Tony 2 times. Why did you have to remind me? American football-wise, my weekend was really good. But Tony and I were both Inter Milan fans. You can see I've got a Nicolo Barella jersey behind me. Inter pissed it in the Milan derby. I'm still fuming. This was Saturday afternoon. They were dominating. They had the 1-0 lead against Milan, the crosstown rivals, and they completely blew it in the second half. And I thing that sucks is I also host an Italian soccer show, so I'm going to have to talk about it at some point this week. I just want to crawl into a cave and just disappear for a few days, but I do not hide from it, my friends. And he says, too bad our Calcio team screwed the pooch. That is right. Scummy, thank you so much for tuning in. We love you. Although, how dare you question Alfredo's eyebrows? I've seen him in person. They are permanent. They are not dry. They are not dry erase. Carlos, thank you so much for tuning in. Says, hope the Rams win. Pulling for Matt. Me too. I think it'd be a great story. I mean, for as great of a story as it would be for Joe Burrow to win one, it would be as great, if not better, of a story for Matt Stafford, because this guy was in football purgatory for so many years in Detroit. Although, and I think the Rams will win. If Burrow and the Bengals don't win, you know what everyone's going to be saying? Oh, Joe Burrow's going to have 100 more chances and he'll win Super Bowls. Painful, but I remember people saying that about Dan Marino. Dan Marino lost his Super Bowl in his second year, and then everyone was saying, oh, this guy's incredible, which he was. He's going to get back here. He's going to win titles, and he never did. So I think I'd prefer, for Matt Stafford's sake, he wins. But, let's not forget, if Burrow and company don't get it done on Sunday, then it may not necessarily mean he gets Super Bowls before his career is over. We will see. Donald, thank you so much. He says the Rams will not win. Wow. Okay. If you are a psychic, let me know, and I will put some money on them to win. Although if I put money on the Bengals, then I'm probably going to mush them. So I don't know. I don't want to overthink this. Ice Cold Kane. I will take Uncle Rico over Tua at this point. I'm telling you, like the Tua haters, just don't worry about it. Just hope the Dolphins get better. And if Tua doesn't get better, you'll have the last laugh a year from now. Just let it play out, okay? I'm telling you. Either way you win, because either he gets better and you can just pretend you never hated him, or he's not good and then you can really gloat. DJ Super, thank you so much for tuning in. Let's see, who else? I try not to shout out people multiple times. Oh my God, this is such a hard name. Abner. I'm gonna like shorten it. Abner, thank you so much for tuning in. I'm so sorry if I butchered your name. As soon as I saw that name, I'm like, oh my God, I'm so stressed. Am I gonna pronounce that correctly? Thank you so much for watching. We appreciate it. Johnny Be Good, thank you so much for watching. Olmex, thank you so much for watching. The GOAT of games, thank you so much. Hello back to you. I can see you're a Canes fan, so you're probably very, very happy about Mario Cristobal going out there and hiring Josh Gattis to be the OC. Massive, massive W for the Canes. I mean, huge W. I'm feeling really good about that. In fact, I know that we did the show today. We devoted the show to Mike McDaniel because I don't know, I feel like that's just a bigger story. But as both a Canes and a Dolphins fan, I think I might even be more excited about the Gattis hire than the McDaniel. I'm excited about both. So it's like picking your favorite child. I don't know. I'm excited. I'm very excited about both. I really am. Let me see who else I can shout out here. A lot of the same people keep popping up. Oh, thank you again, Devin Jordan, and for the super chat. We appreciate your generosity. Really, really good stuff there. Life Journey, thank you so much. Yeah, let's hope that Mike McDaniel is some kind of a Tua whisperer. But it's not as much about the Tua whispering. It's also about if you can make the offensive line better and the running game better through a combination of personnel and scheming, automatically that's going to put Tua in a better position to succeed. So it's not only making Tua better, it's making everything else better, because I've maintained Tua, to me, he's a quarterback who's going to take what you give to him. Like, he's not, and only a few guys are as good as like the Aaron Rodgers of the world and the Pat Mahomes of the world. I don't believe that Tua is like so dynamic that he's going to put a team on his back and carry them to a Super Bowl. But I do think he can take what his environment gives to him. And that's why, and he's very accurate. So if you can put him in a better situation, he can make a meal out of that. Thank you so much, Lance McDonald. We appreciate you tuning in. I see Lance in here a lot, so I appreciate your frequency. Nicholas, thank you so much. Don't be surprised if the Dolphins pursue 49ers running back Raheem Mostert. I would love him, and we need help at running back. He's an impending unrestricted free agent. According to a 49ers person, McDaniel thinks very highly of Mostert. Thoughts? Yes, I would take Mostert here in a heartbeat. So my thought on that is positive. I hope we can make that happen. Zachary B., thank you so much. And he was referencing it's like people are being so weird about, like, some people are questioning whether Mike McDaniel is really biracial. It's like, why are you guys being so weird? Like, he's biracial. Like, it is what it is, man. I don't know. People are being so weird about that. I don't understand why, like, there are people who are having to tweet out like photos of his family to prove it. And he may not want photos of his family being out there. So just like, let's stop being weird about race. Like, it's just a strange thing to get into. Andres, thank you so much for tuning in. Fast Force G, thank you so much. I mean, listen, I would love to trade for Aaron Rodgers. I think he wants to be in San Francisco or Denver. That's everything I've been told. Not to say that people who tell me things are always right. But I don't think Miami is as high on his list as we would like it to be. Jurassic Dag Nabbit, thank you so much. The Mike McDolphins, I like that. Throw out a few more shout outs here. Lil Mick 551, thank you. And he did get a 4-year contract. Hopefully he's here for more than 3 years, which is the normal shelf life for a Dolphins coach. I think McDaniel could be different and better than some of the other ones. Big Dan 305, thank you so much for tuning in. And I think that might be it. I probably missed some people. If I missed you, didn't do it on purpose. I go through. Oh, here's a new one. A couple new ones. Alaman, thank you so much. And the Fins Tailgate, thank you so much. B Smokey, not sure if I shouted you out. Thank you so much as well. Joe Cavillon, thank you so much. I think that's everybody. Huge shout out. Make sure you support our sponsors. Again, guys, this is a big, big week at betus.com. Full service sports book, America's favorite sports book. Got a big game coming up in Los Angeles this Sunday. You can bet spread, money line, props galore, even pregame, halftime show props, everything you can imagine. Sign up with our code 5RSN125, and they're going to give you a 125% sign-up bonus. You bet, you win, you get paid. BetUS.com. Make sure you support the Quarter Deck. And guys, you talk about opportunities here. Also opportunities in fantasy. Prize Picks is the official fantasy sports partner of the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Sign up with our code 5, F-I-V-E, and they will match your first deposit 100% up to $100. Just you against the numbers. You select 2, 3, or 4 players, and you predict whether they go over or under their fantasy projection. You can win 10 times your money by getting 4 predictions correct. This combines my love for parlays and daily fantasy. PrizePicks.com or the PrizePicks mobile app. Use our code 5 for a sweet bonus, F-I-V-E. All right, that'll do it for us today. We will talk to you guys again tomorrow. Same time, same place, 3 p.m. Another episode of Donno Daily here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. See ya.